Okay, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to set up your spreadsheet project. You're going to go ahead inside Google Drive and click Create Spreadsheet. Now, spreadsheets are really powerful tools for organizing and analyzing and comparing data. When you do this project, things that work really well, sports work really well, where you can generate some stats. You find a bunch of stats online. I'm going to show you with movies here, because that's something that can work well too. So I'm going to come up with a couple different categories here. I'm going to compare some favorite movies of mine. So I'm going to put in some column headers here, movie title, and the movies I'm going to compare are, let's see, Catching Fire, of course. We'll do Top Gun from the 80s, Back to the Future, also the 80s, and Dumb and Dumber from the 90s. Alright, so those are my movie titles. Now, this row across the top, I'm going to make it look a little different by having the background be a little, just so it looks a little different there. It'd be helpful to know the date that the movie was released. It'd be helpful to know the budget. So these are all things that I'll look up online. It'd be helpful to know, what they made in the opening weekend. Opening weekend dollar amount. Spread this column out a little wider. Let's see, date we can make smaller there. Opening weekend dollar amount. It'd be helpful to know, and you can get stats on this, how many screens it opened on. So we'll put screens for opening weekend. And then I'd also like to know the U.S. gross, so how much the box office gross in the U.S. and then the worldwide gross. So these are all things I can look up, and I'll show you how to get this information out. Before I do that, I'm going to title my spreadsheet. This will be Fave Movies. Alright, so there's all sorts of sites out there where you can get these movie stats. The one that I'm going to use is the IMDb. So that's the Internet Movie Database. And if I go here, I can search for Catching Fire. That's not the one I want to look at, huh? I'll go Hunger Games, Catching Fire. There we go. So I can see the year here is 2013, so I'll go back and I'll fill that in. Date 2013. And then if I scroll down, I can get some information here. They have box office. So I'm going to click on See More, so I can have the budget, right? Of course, we spent $130 million on that. So I'll go back in here, I'll put in budget, and I'll just paste that in. Now when I paste that in, it doesn't look like a number there, right? So I know that this column and this column and these two columns, I'm going to want them to have a dollar amount in there. So what I'm going to do is I can select the ones that are next to each other at the same time, and then under Format, Number, I'm going to have it be a currency, a dollar amount there. And so you can see that did it. And then screens will just be a regular number, but these ones, I'll hold down Shift click, Format, Number, and this will be currency. So when I paste in there, it'll look like that. So that's the budget. Next I'll get opening weekend they have right here. They made 161 million, so I'll copy that. So that's opening weekend. Let's see. Oh, look at, there's the number of screens. 4,163 screens that it opened on. So I'll paste that there. And that I can make it look, I want a comma in there, right? So I'm going to go number, and this is just going to be a rounded number. It would never be on half a screen. U.S. gross and worldwide gross, so I'll go in and grab U.S. gross right here. Oops. Paste that in there, and then worldwide gross. We'll have that somewhere. Okay, so for some reason I don't see that one in here. So what I could do, because I have Google at my fingertips, I can say worldwide gross, or we'll call it box office gross. Catching Fire. And then we can find that information. There's other sites out there like this. Hunger Game, Box Office Mojo, here we go. Box Office Stats. So we can see in here, Hunger Games worldwide gross is right here. And you'll see that some of these numbers will be a little bit off. They should be very similar. So let's look at this. This is 423,626,642, and that one 424 million. You know, it's just I don't know how they're counting that differently, but somehow they're a little bit off. But we can at least get close to ballparking it there. Now, I've already got all these numbers, so let me pause this for a second and fill in the rest of the numbers so you don't have to watch me do all that. Okay, so now that we've got all our data filled in, so I've got Catching Fire, I added another movie here, the Harry Potter, the first one, Top Gun, Back to the Future, and Dumb and Dumber. I've got all my data filled in. This was just, I haven't done any analyzing yet, no math. I've just gone out to online, you know, Google, in this case IMDb, and I found all these numbers. Now here's where Spreadsheets gets really powerful, or Excel or Numbers if you're on a Mac gets really powerful. So I can then take this and I can do some math inside here to analyze this data. So one thing I might be interested in is I've got the opening weekend dollar amount that the movie brought in, and then I've got the number of screens it was on opening weekend. So I'm going to go ahead and right click here. I'm going to insert one column to the right. So now I've got an empty column here, and I want to know how many the opening weekend dollar amount per screen, right? And make that bold. And so I want to know how many dollars did it bring in per screen. So this is simple math. So I'm going to, instead of you know, doing this on a calculator and then putting a number in here, I'm going to go ahead and let Spreadsheets do the math. So inside here I'm going to type equals, and then I'm going to click. I want to do opening weekend dollar amount divided by, so I'm going to do a slash, the opening weekend screens. So in here you see it's doing a formula. It's saying D2, which is this cell, D2, divided by E2. And then when I hit enter, this will give me some crazy number with a ton of decimal points. I don't want it to look like that, right? So I'm going to go ahead and format this column, and I want it to be a number, and I want it to be a currency. So then I can see that the opening weekend, it made $38,000, you know, plus some change per screen that it was on. Now, instead of doing that same formula for each of these, I'm just going to click this cell here. This little blue box that's in the bottom corner of that, I'm going to click and drag down for this whole column and let go. And you'll see, oh, I'm going to Control Z, I grabbed the wrong thing. That blue box right there, I'll click and drag down, and you'll see that it does the calculation for each column. So if I click here, you can see that the formula for that is equals D3 divided by E3. The formula for that is D4 divided by E4. And now if I happen to change, oh, you know, this wasn't actually 300, this was supposed to be 3,000. Or let's say this was supposed to be 500. I can do that, and when I hit enter, you'll see that this number will change. So it's doing it's live calculations, it's doing it for me. So that's one column here, so I'm going to do that calculation. What else would I want to know? I think I might want to know how much money it brought in the US per dollar spent, or per $1,000 spent in the budget. So I'm going to put another column in to the right of this, and this will be US gross per budget. And so what I would do in here is I'm going to put equals. I'm going to do the US gross divided by the budget, and then hit enter. And so that's this. You'll see if I spread this down, this is not that helpful because it's giving me a really small dollar amount, and so it looks like, oh, this brought in $3 and this brought in $3, so it's totally the same, you know. So what I actually want to do is these formulas, I want to say equals in here, equals the budget divided by the US gross times, I'll do 10,000. And then I can see that I'll have numbers that are a little more, I can see the difference there. So I'm saying for every $10,000 it brought in, how much money did it spend on that? And so that gives me some numbers there, which might be helpful to look at. I think I want to do the same thing for the worldwide gross, so I'm going to do another column. I don't need to insert one because there's already one here. So this will be worldwide gross per budget. And so inside here I'm going to do equals worldwide gross divided by budget times 10,000. And then I want to format this so that it has something that looks like a little more helpful. So I can see this is how much money it brought in per, you know, for every dollar spent, which is kind of a helpful number to know how the return on investment for these movies there. Let's see, what else do I want to look at here? I think that's good for now. So I've got my calculations, and in the next video I'm going to show you how to graph those, how to chart those out.